My name is Amelia Morgan. I'm 30 years old, and for the past 7 years, I've been something no one ever dreams of becoming: my family's personal bank. Growing up in a quiet, middle-class neighborhood in Boston, I believed in everything a good family is supposed to stand for: love, loyalty, sacrifice. Back then, I thought we were normal. We had backyard barbecues every summer, birthday cakes from the same local bakery, and my mom's soft voice reminding me every night that family is forever. But forever is a funny word when it comes to people like mine. When I was 16, my father shattered our little world with 5 words I'll never forget: "I'm leaving." I met someone. He didn't just leave my mother, he left us drowning. He moved clear across the country to California with his new girlfriend, mailing just enough child support to keep the lights on and the resentment burning. Mom changed almost overnight. The warm elementary school teacher turned sharp-edged and calculating. Within 2 years, she'd remarried Jack Thompson, an insurance agent so mild he practically vanished into the wallpaper. He brought zero affection, but a hint of financial stability, and for my mother, that was love enough. Meanwhile, my younger sister Stephanie blossomed into the family princess, pretty, charming, and utterly irresponsible. And Drew, our baby brother, learned early that being the youngest meant everyone would clean up his messes. Me? I was the fixer, the achiever, the good daughter who never asked for anything in return. While Stephanie floated through private college on loans she never intended to repay, and Drew stumbled from one failed big idea to another, I crushed my classes, landed scholarships, and scored an internship at a top financial firm before I could legally rent a car. By 22, I had a salary that made my mother's eyes gleam in a way that had nothing to do with pride. 3 weeks into my first real job, the first call came. Stephanie's car had broken down. Tuition was due. Mom sighed heavily and let her voice crack, letting that old hook sink in. Family is all we have, Amelia. So I wired the money. That's how it started. A late-night transfer here, a promise to pay me back there, a whispered thank you that always sounded like a lie. Each new crisis had my name on it, stamped in invisible ink. Every success of mine became their safety net. And the more I gave, the more they took, until giving wasn't even a choice anymore. I know how this sounds. You're probably wondering why I didn't just say no. I wish it were that simple. But love and guilt are chains so smooth, you barely feel them tightening until one day you wake up choking. So how does the quiet daughter, the fixer, the good girl finally decide she's had enough? Stick around. Because this Christmas, I did the unthinkable, and they never saw it coming. The first time my mother asked me for money, she sounded so fragile I didn't think twice. Stephanie's car had died on her way to class, and Mom swore they'd pay me back as soon as her tuition was squared away. I was 22, barely out of my college dorm, still living off instant noodles and the thrill of my first paycheck. I remember transferring $2,800 that same night, convinced I was doing the right thing. A good daughter's duty, but a single favor has a funny way of turning into a lifetime contract when you're the dependable one. Within months, Drew needed $1,500 for a sure-thing coding bootcamp that would land him a 6-figure job, or so he promised. Mom fell behind on property taxes. Jack's work hours got cut. Every problem found its way to me, their human solution. They dripped guilt into every conversation, like poison you don't taste until it's too late. Family sticks together, Amelia. After all we've done for you, what had they really done for me, though? While they spent afternoons planning vacation trips and shopping for designer furniture, I skipped lunches at work so I could wire money home. I wore the same pair of black flats until the soles split apart in the rain. My dreams of traveling Europe? Postponed. A condo of my own? Out of reach. Meanwhile, every family dinner became a carefully staged theater. They'd wait until my guard was down, passing mashed potatoes, laughing about old memories, then slide in the confession, "We're in a bit of trouble, honey. Can you help just this once?" Just this once turned into my entire 20s slipping through my fingers like loose change. I'd rise at dawn, grind 12-hour days building wealth for strangers while my own savings account shriveled to nothing, all because my sister needed flowers for her extravagant wedding. Or Drew just had to buy inventory for a beer subscription box he never launched. The worst part? I told myself they loved me, that all this sacrifice would mean something, that when I really needed them, they'd be there too. I clung to that lie every time my mother praised me with that calculating glint in her eyes, not as her daughter, but as an endless well she could draw from. By 29, I made 6 figures, but lived like a college intern. They had a new kitchen remodel I never ate dinner in, a luxury vacation rental I never visited, a family that never asked about my life unless they smelled money on my next promotion. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I stop it? I ask myself the same thing every night. But when the people who raised you keep telling you that you're all they have, you believe them until the day you don't. And for me, that day came with a single overheard conversation that burned every illusion to ash. Want to hear what I heard that shattered everything? Keep watching because you won't believe what my loving family said when they thought I wasn't listening. It happened on a Sunday afternoon, on a day that looked like any other. If you'd seen me pulling into my mother's driveway, you'd think I was just a devoted daughter bringing wine and groceries for the monthly family dinner. You'd never guess I was about to overhear the conversation that would end my family as I knew it. I let myself in with the spare key Mom gave me, the same one I used whenever they needed last-minute groceries or an emergency check hand-delivered, because bank transfers take too long, sweetheart. The house was too quiet, so I set the wine down and headed toward the patio, thinking I'd surprise them. But it was me who got surprised. Their voices drifted through the screen door, familiar, warm, and so casual it made my stomach twist. "Amelia's bonus should hit next month," Mom said, like she was discussing the weather. "Perfect," Stephanie chimed in. I could hear the smirk in her voice. "We can finally get that vacation property up in Vermont. Lakeview, hot tub, we deserve it." Then she laughed, a sharp, ugly sound that cut through my chest like a razor. God, she's such an easy mark. All you have to do is cry family emergency, and she just throws money at you. It's pathetic. My brother's voice, Drew, joined in, half drunk with laughter. "Remember when she actually made me sign a payment plan for that business loan? Like I was gonna pay that back. She lives on another planet." I couldn't breathe. My own mother, my siblings laughing about how they'd bled me dry. Planning vacations while I sat alone in a shoebox apartment I couldn't afford to leave because every penny went to them. Then Mom said it. The final nail in the coffin of my illusions. She's lonely. No husband, no kids, no real friends. We're all she's got. Of course she'll keep paying. It's almost sad. Almost sad. But not enough to stop them from draining me like a broken faucet. I pressed a hand to my mouth to keep from gasping out loud. I wanted to slam the door open, scream at them, make them see how their betrayal had hollowed me out for years. But instead, I did what they least expected. I slipped out the front door, drove home with tears burning trails down my cheeks, and made a decision. For the first time in my life, I wouldn't run to fix their problems. I'd fix mine instead. That night, the red folder was born, a simple cardboard file that became my weapon. Every transfer, every broken promise, every screenshot, bank record, and lying text message. 7 years of evidence that my loving family was nothing more than a well-rehearsed scam dressed up in holiday sweaters and fake hugs. I spent sleepless nights planning how to expose them. Not with shouting or tears, but with facts they couldn't twist and a reckoning they'd never see coming. Want to know what I did with that red folder? Trust me, you don't want to miss the moment I dropped it under the Christmas tree. I didn't sleep the night I heard them laughing about me like I was a joke they'd been telling for years. My mind replayed every fake apology, every "we'll pay you back," every "you're all we have," Amelia, over and over until those words turned to acid in my throat. By dawn, I knew what I had to do. I wouldn't beg for respect anymore. I wouldn't stand in my childhood kitchen and argue with people who had perfected the art of making me feel selfish for wanting a life of my own. This time, I would fight back. I called in sick to work, the first sick day I'd taken in years, and sat cross-legged on my apartment floor, surrounded by bank statements, text messages, and guilt-riddled voicemails. I labeled folders by year, highlighted every loan that was never paid back, every emergency that turned out to be a shopping spree or a luxury vacation. But paper trails weren't enough. I needed the truth from their own mouths and actions. So I found a private investigator, a woman named Natalie whose calm, cold precision made my hands stop shaking for the first time in days. Natalie followed my mother to Mohegan Sun Casino, where she gambled away, medical bill, money for an entire weekend. She caught my brother sneaking around in the nearly new BMW he swore he couldn't afford, parking it blocks away so I'd never see it when I visited. While Natalie gathered photos, receipts, and time-stamped videos, I booked an appointment with Barbara Watkins, a no-nonsense attorney who looked through my red folder and told me I had a slam-dunk case for fraud and civil recovery. Barbara even offered to press criminal charges if I wanted. Part of me wanted that revenge, the part that still felt the fresh burn of my mother's voice calling me almost sad. But a bigger part wanted freedom. Justice, not just revenge. So Barbara helped me craft a plan, confront them, present the undeniable evidence, and give them a choice: do the right thing for once, or face the consequences I'd avoided for far too long. For 2 months, I became a ghost in my own family chat. No transfers. No more emergency checks. My mother's hi sweetheart texts became thinly veiled demands. My sister raged about overdue bills. Drew pretended to care about my well-being, sending fake concern with one hand while asking for cash with the other. I answered every message the same way: sorry, can't help right now. Behind my silence, the fuse was burning toward Christmas Day, the one day they'd never suspect a thing. They thought I'd show up, hand over more money, smile for photos, then crawl back to my lonely apartment to pay their bills in silence. But this time, I was bringing presents they wouldn't forget: glossy wrapped boxes for show, and beneath the tree, the red folder, a bombshell 7 years in the making. How did my perfect family react when I unwrapped the truth? Stay with me, because the Christmas morning that blew up our lives is something you'll never forget. Christmas morning dawned bright and cold, the kind of crisp winter day that used to make me feel warm inside. Not this year. I drove to my mother's house with a trunk full of expensive gifts I could easily afford, yet gifts I knew would be my last. Nestled between the ham, the wine, and the shiny wrapped boxes was my real present, the red folder. 7 years of secrets wrapped in plain cardboard, ready to blow my so-called family apart. They greeted me at the door like always: fake warmth, air kisses, practiced Merry Christmas, sweetheart smiles that made my stomach turn. I played my part too, polite daughter, arms full of gifts, pretending not to notice that none of them asked about my life. Breakfast was cinnamon rolls and forced conversation. Stephanie bragged about her holiday decorations. Drew scrolled on his phone, barely hiding that he was texting someone about picking up that thing later, probably the BMW I now knew he'd been hiding. Mom fussed around the kitchen, dropping hints about how expensive Christmas had been this year. I sipped my coffee and watched them perform, knowing the curtain was about to fall. When the last bite of breakfast was gone, Mom clapped her hands together like a director wrapping a scene. Presents, everyone. Stephanie, why don't you give Amelia hers first? Stephanie handed me a cheap mug that read "World's Okayest Sister," secondhand, with a faint lipstick stain still on the rim. Drew's gift was a $25 bookstore gift card, probably bought with my money. Mom and Jack gave me a scarf from her own closet, the same one I'd seen her wear at Thanksgiving. I didn't flinch. I handed them my carefully chosen gifts: sapphire earrings for Stephanie, a custom leather portfolio for Drew's business ideas, a weekend getaway for Mom and Jack. Thoughtful, expensive, final. Before they could thank me or fake it, I stood up, my heart thundering so hard I thought they might hear it. I have one more gift for you, I said, my voice calm, steady, terrifyingly sure. I knelt beside the tree, placed the red folder beneath its lowest branches, and looked straight at my mother. Open it, I said. They didn't move. Mom's smile twitched. Stephanie crossed her arms. Drew frowned, confused. So I opened it for them, page after page of bank statements, text screenshots, the PI's glossy photos of mom feeding slot machines with my medical bill money, Drew's hidden BMW, Stephanie's secret vacation house in Maine. Their faces drained of color like cheap paint washed in a storm. What is this? Mom gasped. Receipts, I said. Proof. 7 years of lies, all tidy and gift-wrapped just for you. I let the silence wrap around us like a noose. Then I dropped the rail bomb. You have 2 options. Sign the repayment agreements and commit to therapy, or I take this to court. Fraud, financial exploitation, whatever charges stick. Either way, this ends now. Stephanie found her voice first. You're bluffing. You'd never. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the recorded conversation, their laughter about the easy mark. I hit play. Their own voices filled the room, so loud they couldn't deny it anymore. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Christmas lights twinkled above us like tiny witnesses. You wanted to cut me out? I said softly. Surprise. I'm cutting myself free instead. And just like that, the family I'd sacrificed everything for was about to discover what happens when the fixer stops fixing. Want to know which option they chose? Trust me, you won't believe what came next. Silence swallowed the living room after my recording ended. It was the first time in my life my mother, my sister, my brother, and Jack all looked genuinely speechless. You could almost hear the echo of 7 years of secrets crashing to the floor. Drew was the first to break. He stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. Okay, Amelia, just calm down. This is all. Look, it's a misunderstanding, right? He shot a desperate glance at Mom, but she looked like she might vomit. Is it? I asked, my voice as cold as the snow falling outside. Did I misunderstand you calling me an easy mark? Or Mom planning a vacation home with money I was supposed to use for my own down payment? Jack looked around helplessly. For once, he wasn't nodding along with my mother's script. Karen, is this true? The gambling, the lies. Mom's hands trembled so hard the silk scarf I'd given her slipped to the carpet. She didn't pick it up. Her eyes found mine, and for a split second I saw it, the fear she'd always hidden behind tight smiles and guilt trips. I didn't mean for it to get this bad, she whispered. Her voice cracked, and for once I didn't flinch. After your father left, I was so angry, so ashamed. The slots were an escape. And then it just kept going. Stephanie rolled her eyes. Oh, please, Mom. Don't turn this into some sob story to make her feel guilty again. Shut up, Stephanie, I snapped, surprising even myself with how sharp my voice could be when I didn't sugarcoat it. You used my money for a vacation house while pretending you couldn't pay your mortgage. You lied. Over and over. And I turned to Drew, whose shoulders hunched like a scolded child. You never had a business. You had a shiny car and zero intentions of paying me back. He tried to speak, but his mouth worked soundlessly. For once, the family golden boy had no excuses. This is insane, Stephanie hissed. You're tearing this family apart. No, I cut her off. This family was rotten long before today. I'm just shining a light on it. Mom covered her face with her hands. Between her fingers, her voice came out muffled but raw. What do you want from us, Amelia? Money? An apology. I stepped closer, the red folder clutched tight to my chest. I want accountability. You have until New Year's Day to sign the repayment agreements and commit to therapy, real therapy, not a single awkward session you blow off later. Or I file lawsuits. I have everything ready to go. Stephanie laughed bitterly. So you want us to beg? To grovel at your feet? No, I said softly. I want you to grow up. I looked at each of them, Mom shaking, Drew staring at the floor, Jack frozen, and Stephanie trembling with rage she couldn't disguise as charm anymore. You wanted to vote me out? Fine. But from now on, the only vote that matters is mine. I picked up my bag, stepping past the glittering Christmas tree, the fake cheer, the shredded wrapping paper that suddenly looked like confetti at a funeral. You have a choice. Face what you've done and change, or lose me forever. Choose wisely. I shut the front door behind me, the cold air burning my cheeks, but for the first time in years, I felt warm inside. Want to see if they chose to save themselves or lose everything? You won't believe how far they had to go to get my forgiveness. 3 days after I walked out that Christmas morning, the calls and texts came flooding in, first the angry ones, then the begging. Drew swore he'd pay me a little something if I'd just stop embarrassing him with threats of a lawsuit. Stephanie accused me of ruining her marriage by exposing the vacation house her husband didn't know about. Mom left voicemails at 2 in the morning, crying about how she never meant for it to get this far. I ignored them all. For the first time in my life, silence was power. While they squirmed, my lawyer filed paperwork so perfectly bulletproof even Jack, spineless as he was, realized stalling wouldn't work. Faced with real court dates and bank account freezes, they cracked faster than I expected. Mom was first. She showed up at my apartment building, pounding on my door like a desperate ghost. When I opened it, she dropped to her knees right there in the hallway, the same woman who once taught me pride is everything. "I'm sorry, Amelia," she whispered through tears. "I'm in Gamblers Anonymous. I swear I'm going to fix this." A year ago, I would have knelt beside her and said, "It's okay, Mom." But I didn't bend this time. I just stood there and asked the only question that mattered. "Will you sign the repayment agreement?" She did right there on my kitchen counter. Watching her hand shake as she wrote her name was the first crack of daylight I'd seen in years. Drew sold his hidden BMW within a week. He whined about it, blamed me for ruining his dreams, but he signed too. He even got a steady job in IT support. Sometimes I see his name pop up in my phone, and I let it ring. Let him sit in the silence he never respected. Stephanie was the last holdout. She fought me every step. Her face in family therapy sessions was a mask of polite contempt, like she couldn't believe she'd been dragged into actual consequences. She signed only because her husband threatened to leave if she didn't. And when the therapist asked if she felt remorse, she shrugged. She's always acted like she's better than us. Maybe now she'll see she's not perfect either. Sometimes people don't change, they just hide their claws better. I've accepted that about her. Meanwhile, I changed everything. I bought a condo, not huge, but mine. I took a solo trip to Italy, eating gelato on cobblestone streets, without checking my bank balance every hour. I found friends who laughed at my jokes instead of my bank account. And slowly, carefully, I let someone new into my life, Michael, an architect who brings me coffee and never once asked for my credit card. 6 months after that broken Christmas, I sat in our last family therapy session and realized the truth. I didn't just reclaim my money. I reclaimed myself. They're still paying me back every month, like clockwork. But what they really owe me is respect. And that's one debt I'll never let them forget again. Do you think they kept their promises forever? Wait until you hear how it all truly ends, because trust me, this story wasn't done testing me yet. It's strange how quiet freedom can feel. No dramatic fireworks. No parade. Just a soft morning sunlight through my own window, coffee brewed exactly how I like it, and the slow, steady certainty that every dollar in my account is mine alone. It's been almost a year since I dropped that red folder under my mother's Christmas tree, a single moment that burned down everything I thought family was supposed to mean. Back then, if you'd asked me who I was, I would have said, the responsible one, the fixer, the safety net. I thought love meant sacrifice, that if I just gave more, they'd love me back harder. But the truth was simpler and so much crueler. Some people will never love you the way you love them, no matter how many pieces of yourself you give away. And yet, here's what they never expected. That losing me wouldn't break me. It built me. I spent the first few months after the fallout learning how to sit still with the guilt they trained into me. When Drew texted asking for a small favor, I said no. The world didn't end. When Mom called crying because the casino temptation whispered her name again, I said, I love you, but you need to call your sponsor, not your daughter. The sky didn't fall. It was like discovering gravity for the first time, that I could stand on my own and not collapse. Meanwhile, life quietly bloomed around me. My condo feels like a sanctuary, filled with houseplants I keep alive all by myself, a record player spinning soft jazz while I cook dinner for one or two when Michael is here. He's the first man in my life who doesn't see me as a ticket, a therapist, or a mother to fix him. He just sees me. My friends, my chosen family love me for my laugh, my stubbornness, my terrible karaoke voice. They don't care about my salary. They'd never dream of voting me out if I didn't pay their rent. Funny, isn't it? The people who taught me blood is thicker than water were wrong all along. The real truth is, the bonds we choose are stronger than the ones we're born with. Do I miss my family sometimes? Of course. Some nights, memories hit me like a stone to the chest, backyard barbecues before Dad left, Mom reading bedtime stories, Stephanie braiding my hair when we were still just sisters, not debtor and ATM. But when the grief comes, I let it sit beside me. I don't feed it. I don't let it starve me. I just breathe, knowing I survived. And here's the part no one ever talks about. Healing isn't a perfect upward line. It's messy, it's daily, and it's mine to keep. They're still paying me back, month by month. But the real repayment is this life I built without them, one boundary, one honest no, one brave yes at a time. I thought the red folder was the end of my story. But maybe it was just the prologue. Want to hear what happened the last time I faced them again, after everything? Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. Looking back, I realized the red folder wasn't revenge. It was freedom. The day I dropped it under the Christmas tree, I wasn't destroying my family. I was saving myself. For years, I believed loving people meant rescuing them from their own choices. I thought sacrifice guaranteed loyalty. I was wrong. Now, I know love without respect is just exploitation wearing a pretty mask. I know that boundaries aren't walls, they're doors you choose who to let in. And I know that sometimes, family is the home you build for yourself, not the one you're born into. My mother is still recovering. Drew is finally working. Stephanie? Some lessons take longer to sink in. But me? I'm living my life on my terms for the first time, and I promise you, that's worth every tear it took to get here. Have you ever had to stand up to someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. If this hit home, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear. Protecting your peace is never selfish. And trust me, you won't believe what happened when they tried to pull me back in. Stay tuned.